Okay, good. Let's get right into this because this video is important. We're going to be answering essentially whether or not Biden sort of, kind of, maybe sabotaged the Social Security Administration while he was in. Now, the expectation automatically is that Democrats will always support more than Republicans the Social Security Administration. Is that de facto true across the line? Absolutely not. Is that de facto true when it comes to Biden versus somebody like Trump? Maybe, but Biden had a rough 4 years when it comes to supporting the Social Security Administration. And I want to go through why that's so prevalent in this particular situation. One of the big things that's calling Biden's presence when it comes to Social Security benefits and his action to try and make the program work better is how long he waited on many things to get them done. Classic example is the Social Security Fairness Act, which of course repeals the WPGPO and gives about 3 million people more money. It also makes the trust funds run out faster, which is a problem because there's not enough money in them to begin with. You have basically House Representatives. Jason Smith is the chairman. Over here, you have Richard E. Neal, ranking member. Basically, the bottom line with this is that they wrote a letter to basically acting commissioner Carolyn W. Colvin. And the letter, just to summarize, is saying, hey, Social Security Administration, we've officially passed, and the president has signed the Social Security Fairness Act. So where the F are you on getting the benefits paid? Why aren't the lists created to go ahead and do the payments? What is the holdup? And remember, some of the things you have to keep in mind is that there has been speculation that the Democrats wanted to pass it into the new year. That way, when they look at budgeting details, it makes the Republicans look worse because the Social Security Fairness Act kind of drains the trust funds faster and it makes the whole situation look more grave. And they're going to throw that onto the Republicans' plate. It's been tossed around that that was a good strategic idea. Let me read to you really quickly this letter from these individuals from the U.S. House of Representatives so you understand exactly why this is a potential problem. Dear Acting Commissioner Colvin, as you are aware, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law on January 5th, 2025, fully repealing Social Security's windfall elimination provisions and government pension offset. Okay. The Committee on Ways and Means has devoted significant time and attention to examining the WP and GPO, two flawed policies that impact Social Security benefits of millions, 3 million-ish, of public servants throughout the country, including holding 2 hearings on these provisions during the 118th Congress. And they were right next to each other because they were trying to get this thing through. While the Social Security Fairness Act did not benefit from the technical refinement that results from committee consideration, its passage is a clear, bipartisan, and overwhelming representation of the will of Congress. Now, what's funny is they put in that it did not benefit from the technical refinements that result from committee considerations. Yet, to be fair, this bill has been sitting in the U.S. House of Representatives and has been looked at by a lot of co-sponsors for effing decades. So to be fair, the line, oh, the act didn't benefit from the technical refinements that result from the committee considered, but that's bullshit. Enough senators and House reps have had their fingers in that pie for a very long time. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something very clear. The only reason this thing passed is because of leverage from a fraternal police group that said Trump was going to sign it if Biden did it. So Schumer got on the horse and said, we're signing this thing. President Biden, you're signing this thing. You know, once he came back from his island adventure, before he went to his Italian adventure, and they got it through. That's what happened here. All right, now let's keep rolling. As such, we are committed to ensuring that the Social Security Administration implement the law as quickly and as smoothly as possible to provide needed and timely relief to those who have been unfairly harmed by these policies. Given the magnitude of the legislative changes included in the Social Security Fairness Act and the current uncertainties surrounding the SSA's implementation of the new law, we request, remember this letter was sent out, it's the 18th today, this letter was sent out 8 days ago. We request your prompt response to the following questions no later than January 17th, 2025. Just to be clear, I could not find the Social Security Administration's response to these questions, which is not a good sign because the expectation is that they were going to start paying these benefits to those dual pension people because they wanted the payments and back pay, well, at most, the back pay to go out while Biden was still president so that the Democrats get the pull on that. Instead, now, the Republicans, when Trump gets in, is likely to get the pull on it because it is the 18th. We have tomorrow being the 19th. The 20th occurs, and guess what happens? We got the inauguration, celebration, inside building event where it's going to be freezing and snowing and miserable. The point is this. The Democrats screwed up on their timing. They should have passed this in the beginning of 2024 and then rolled it out going into the election cycle. That would have been the smartest thing for the Democrats to do, to shove it to the Republicans. Instead, they're walking these benefits and the release of them directly into the Republicans' hands, which I don't think was their goal. I don't think that's what they wanted to do. Now, given that, let's go through it. Here are the questions. That way you understand exactly what they are, okay? What is the SSA's plan to implement the Social Security Fairness Act? Here's a weird thing. We know that in November, the House basically passed it. And we know that the SSA was aware of that going on. And we know that they had to start ramping up review of this. And we know that it only takes a couple of weeks for the SSA to complete, putting together a list of people to receive some sort of benefit change. And we also know that they have specific calculation lists on whose benefits get reduced as a result of the WEP and GPO provisions. So the question then becomes, why didn't President Biden come out and tell us, hey, on this date, this is going to happen. On this date, this is going to happen. On this date, this is going to happen. Schumer could have told us. The House could have told us. The SSA could have told us, right? The commissioner of the SSA could have released that with happy news. So it's weird. What doesn't make sense is why it's taking so much time to pay out these benefits or get them started. Next one. What, if any, action will affected beneficiaries have to take to ensure that their benefits are properly adjusted and that any additional benefits are paid appropriately? How and when will the SSA provide notice to those affected beneficiaries? Is anybody wondering why it's taking so long for the SSA to deliver this? Now, some people will joust in the comments that, well, the president just signed it not too long ago. Hub, sweet pea. Let me explain life to you, okay? Real quick. They were fully aware that this thing was likely to pass, which is why the SSA, all the way back to December area, was releasing a notification that they had to explain to their employees what to say before it passed and what to say if it did pass. And basically, from that, we knew that they were heads up from the politicians, that they intended to pass it, and that they had to have a list of how they were going to pay it. It takes weeks. They've had weeks. If this were a COVID stimulus check, this would have been paid already. So, as a result of that, the question becomes, why is this being slow-rolled? And is the president sabotaging the Social Security Administration? Now, you could say he's not or he is. There's all kinds of arguments both ways. You could say he's bitter. He owes his allegiance to no one, which is a very strong argument. I mean, Biden got screwed over by the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. They screwed him over. So did Schumer. Schumer went and had a private meeting with him. And, that right after that meeting, President Biden came out and said, I'm running for president, baby. Here I come. Right. So, he owes his allegiance to no one. Now, there's other arguments, too. There may be a reason that we don't know yet as to why these benefits are being slow rolled. Question 3. What additional guidance or resources will be provided to assist the public and the SSA employees in navigating this transition? There have not been a lot of releases on this information. There was one internal release through the emergency message system with the SSA on the 23rd of December, outlining what they need to say before it passes and after it passes. Then later on into January, they released a notification on the website that gives basic information as to what's going on and how you should sit tight for them to figure out how they're going to do this. I mean, a little bit more. This is the biggest legislation to happen with the SSA benefits for a long time. Where are they on this? Question number 4. How long will it take the SSA to fully implement the new law? Over that period, what, if any, additional activities and what additional administrative burden expressed in both work years and present value dollars does the SSA anticipate it will incur because of the new law? How much is it going to cost to administer the new law? How much is it going to cost to ramp up the list to figure out who gets paid? How much is it going to cost in actual benefits paid out to these individuals that are beneficiaries? And what are the costs of retaining or upkeeping this new transition, this new law, when mistakes are made, when things are done properly, etc.? Number 5, understanding the administrative complexity of the two policies. What, if any, annual administrative cost savings are anticipated after the law is fully implemented because of the repeal of the WP and GPO? Administrative complexity. Two policies. Annual administrative cost savings. They want to know how much this is going to cost. The SSA is massively underfunded. The Democrats, with the Republicans, have allowed it to consistently be underfunded. That's why you can't get them on the phone easily. That's why it takes so long. The average person waits on the phone between 30 minutes and 2 hours. That's not good. So the point I'm getting at here is it seems like the two parties have sabotaged the SSA. They put a new burden cost on the SSA, which, I'm for, because if we're going to get money to the American people, we might as well get it to the American people. We've seen the Democrats and the Republicans spend a lot of money on foreign nations. It would be nice if they put Americans in like the first slot, first position. It would just be, that's all I ask. Maybe since you are elected by people that you are supposed to put in first slot, first position, first give a shit mode, maybe because you have to care about them the most, they're your stockholders, bro. Maybe you should actually take care of them. I don't know. Maybe help them out, So the point I'm getting at with this thing, the point that I think is really important is that these politicians have to change how they think, or we vote them out. That's just the reality of it. Final sentence, final paragraph. Further, we request that the SSA regularly report to Congress on the status of the agency's progress in implementing the Social Security Fairness Act in a timely manner. Thank you for your attention to this important, matter. And we look forward to your prompt and comprehensive response to our questions. Look, maybe there will be a report on Monday. Maybe there will be a status update on Monday. But if so, the Democrats screwed up because they didn't get the benefit of passing this repeal of a law that gave less money to the American citizens. They screwed up. They didn't time it right, and now it's biting them in the butt. Now, some of you will say, all right, Attorney Walter Hnot, maybe Biden wasn't on top of this. Maybe mentally he's not all there. He's in vacation mode. He's in outro mode. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe he's got too much going on right now. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with the politicians. He doesn't want to partake. He's out. Maybe that's where this whole thing is going. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But let's talk about the past 4 years, okay? Increasing Social Security benefits. We both know pre-White House Biden was talking about the 200 plus per month. We know he's talking about different increases. We know he's talking about cost of living adjustment changes. How much of that happened? How much of it? I'll let you put in the comments. I'll let you put it in the chat section. How much? Number 2, did he decrease restrictions on benefits for work and work income? Not much. Not much. The major thing is that there was a change from the 15-year rule to the 5-year rule when seeing if somebody could be found disabled. The person that's actually going to be changing the big rule where we have work that equates to income and then getting taxed at an unreasonable amount, the guy who's getting rid of that is Trump. So I don't think Biden really did super duper great with that particular category. Next one, increasing online discussions of what should change with Social Security benefits, being an open platform so that people can communicate to the SSA what their concerns are. Their method right now is like a legislative comment section, which none of you really know how to use or get to, and barely an online presence, right? Although Commissioner Martin O'Malley did a lot with that. He pushed that way more forward than everybody else. But to be fair, that doesn't really focus on that online presence, what people want changed. It focuses on how to make sure you don't get hit with fraud, how to make sure that you protect your identity, what you can do to reach the SSA, although those videos are now unfortunately old and no longer accurate. So as a result, just to be very clear, just to be very fair, and I hope you understand this, did he sabotage the SSA in that regard? Well, maybe, maybe not. What do you think? Number 4, exterminating marriage penalty through the program. Why do we have marriage penalties in the modern era? These people cannot afford, in any fashion, in any way, to live in America. SSI people would move out of America en masse if they were allowed to still get their benefits, because they cannot afford to live. That's why you saw Commissioner Martin O'Malley, which was a win for Biden, getting rid of a lot of the 1/3 reduction rule or in-kind support and maintenance rule to make sure that people had at least some money through SSI and didn't get hit with the restriction rule. So, to be fair, it's one of those situations where, unfortunately, look, if we're honest with each other, people can't survive on $900 something a month, right? Even if they didn't pay into the system, they can't afford it. If they're disabled, they're over 65, impoverished, etc., they can't afford to survive. So Biden did pretty okay on that one. Now, here's the deal. Reducing the administrative reporting requirements on beneficiaries, he did do well on that one. He reduced when it comes to reporting, benefits when you get a payee situation, or you have to, he made it simpler for people to notify the SSA when they're working now. He did okay with that one. He did increase the benefits to that individual with having to do fewer reports to the SSA. Now, next one, modernizing systems and services. He did okay with that one. He modernized a lot of the internal systems, but there's massive amounts left to go. Oh, there's massive amounts left to go. In fact, Trump is putting in somebody who intends to take the modern day banking systems and integrate them into the SSA to make the SSA, work more properly all within one system, one program. Because if you look at the SSA and how it works, it is a ton of different programs that don't all talk to each other. Next one, having emergency crisis economic shock plans in place in case more COVID, earthquake, firestorm, Egyptian pharaoh level events end up altering the financial path of the Social Security trust funds. Can any of you explain to me any presidential candidate, any Senate candidate, any House of Representative candidate, any of them at all, that have come forth with a plan to help the Social Security Administration and the administering of its funds in case there is another massive international shock to our financial system? Anybody? Anybody? In fact, the plan that they have is that if the government has to shut down, the SSA will be able to continue to work because it will be able to tap into the trust funds and spend the trust fund money to continue to keep the SSA open and the United States Treasury open and the IRS open to distribute these funds. A lot of you don't realize that. If there's a mega emergency, they can drain those trust funds. That's not a good path. That's not having a reserve. That's screwing over the American people. Next one, expanding access. Biden did all right with this one. Tribal access, Pacific Islander access, Atlantic Islander access. He did a good job with this. Now, with that said, are we doing better as a program when it comes to education? Not really. Not really that much. We need to have Social Security taught in school. We need to make a program that federally talks about those things kids need to know about. The Constitution, how their rights work, Social Security benefits. They need to know these things in school. Taking all these things out of school only makes each generation a little bit more withdrawn from why they're paying for a government. Next one, funding and staffing issues. Well, let's just be honest. The SSA is in a state of crisis. They're at a 50-year low of employment. You go back 50 years, that's how many employees they had back then. That's how many employees they have now. They are processing millions and millions and millions of more people now than they were back in the day. As a result of that, just to be very clear, to be very fair, the entire system is going to collapse if we continue on this step-by-step manner. Okay? Trump has to come in and find a way to hyper-automate the SSA and hire more people to make the SSA produce proper work product consistently and allow people to interact with it. Will Trump be able to do that? Who knows? Did Biden do that? No, because Biden would say, I want to give the SSA more money. But he didn't fight for the SSA to really have more money. He wasn't out there giving press speeches. He wasn't out there standing in front of the SSA building saying, look at this parking lot. Look at how many few cars are here. Look at these desks. Look how many are open. He wasn't doing that. He wasn't spending the time that he was supposed to use his actual policy ability to do it. And this chair is falling apart again on me. But point is this. I think it's incredibly important. If Biden wants to succeed with having a popular, face when it comes to Social Security, well, then, damn it, get in front of the problem. Get in front of the SSA and say, we have to fix this and this and this. Appointing Martin O'Malley, very good move. But you didn't back him up enough. And as a result, it kind of sabotaged his ability to actually deliver news on the Social Security Administration, which the Republicans now are jumping all over him. Next one, addressing future solvency. Have you ever once heard any plans from President Biden at all about the future solvency of the Social Security Administration that were bullet point plans on what they could do? Now, remember, Trump isn't in office, so you can't compare Biden to Trump. You have to compare Biden to what should have happened. When Trump gets in this next round, we get a whole new shot to see what Trump's going to do for Social Security. And to be fair, I'm going to be delivering tomorrow a very big video with customized ideas that either the Democrats or Republicans would be very successful with. Now, was Biden doing what he needed to do to figure out a solution for the Social Security Administration? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It either made any solutions that could have potentially existed, made it through first round discussions, and then were immediately out on second round discussions. Next one. When it comes to basically fraud prevention, the Democrats actually did pretty well there. Sure, there was hackings of the SSA. Sure, there was hackings of other systems. Yes, that occurred. But the Republicans pushed this idea of making, sure we didn't have as much fraud. And the Democrats picked that up with OIG, the Office of Inspector General, and they ran with it. And they've been pushing it because they realize how important it is to not be seen losing billions to fraudsters with this program. So they did okay with that. The things that they were putting in place, the actions that they were taking, they did okay with that. Now, next thing, reducing processing delays. Well, it takes 12 to 18, 19 months for a Social Security disability claim to be adjudicated. It is horrendous. It is one of the worst times in history for the SSA. So did Biden turn his back on fixing that problem? Absolutely. Did Commissioner Martin O'Malley attempt to fix it? Absolutely. Did he not have enough personnel to fix it? Absolutely. Did he not have enough money to hire enough new people and managers to train those new people to fix it? Absolutely. Unfortunately, Biden, in that regard, turned his back and quasi-sabotaged the SSA. Next one. Addressing millennial Social Security destruction. We all know that they will try to save the Social Security trust funds by taxing the millennials more, reducing the millennials' benefits, increasing the age of retirement, all of these things. What protections did Biden put in place for the millennials? Anybody? The millennials have student loans, so they can't afford to save. Millennials have student loans, so they can't afford to buy a house because they can't get a down payment. The older boomers don't get it. I'm not sure what the brain problem is there. They're just having a hard time connecting the dots with that one. But for some reason, the boomers see these student loans as proper, accurate, well-signed, and well-understood loans by an 18-year-old signing a multi-page legalese document to be able to go to college because their parents, who are those boomers that are older now, told them that's the only way that they can succeed in life. You see, the boomers caused the kids to sign up for a program that didn't really help them become successful. It caused them to become a financial slave to the system. And as a result of that, it's a tough situation. One day, the boomers will either wake up and realize how they've destroyed the ability of millennials to make enough money to pay enough FICA taxes to pay for the retirement benefits of the elderly, which, by the way, there's still some boomers. I don't know how this happened, but it's a lack of education in the school system. There are still, and I can't believe this, there are still some boomers who believe that the little bit of money they paid, the tiny dollars they paid way back in the day, compared to the massive amount of money it costs now, but the tiny amount of dollars they paid back in the day paid for their benefits. That's not how this works. Future generations pay for the current retired people and the current disabled people. We have to have it that way because the money you put away back in the day would never be enough because of inflation. You were just paying for those people at that time. There's no little account that your name is on. So I'm not sure why some boomers still have that. I think it's because we don't have education on it. But still, you get some boomers who are like, I'll say this. They took out a loan. They better pay it. They better pay back every cent of it. God damn them. They can't earn enough. Why don't they get a job? Blah, 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 blah. Well, it's because, let's just say raw material production, manufacturing, warehouse distribution. A lot of that stuff was kind of sold overseas during the boomer era. So the jobs that are left for the industries that exist are service and sales. You ever notice how there's not that many factories in the U.S. anymore? We don't have these giant power plants pushing power to these, factories. You ever notice that? The reason we had it back in the day is because we in America used to be able to take a raw material and actually create a finished product and actually distribute it to the individuals that would need to go ahead and sell it. And in those stores where it could be sold, people could go to those stores and buy it. But you see, we took that whole thing and we cut out the first half of it. So the first half of all those jobs don't exist anymore in America. That's the problem. That's the real issue here that I just wish people would just get a little bit of how it works. I'm not asking for a lot. Just a little bit. Just get a little bit of how it works here. I just want that. All right. Next one. So in other words, taxing the millennials more, that's never going to happen. They can't afford it. Making the retirement age farther down the line for millennials, they'll just kill the program. They'll kill the program. You're going to threaten them with that, they'll kill the program. It's a tricky situation. Where was Biden on that? We should have heard something. Next one. Enhancing the caregiver situation so more family members can get paid to take care of older family members. This was my favorite part of his pre-White House setup. They made tiny little steps in that direction. Wasn't perfect, wasn't fully actuated, wasn't even utilitarian, but it was a tiny little baby steps in this direction. Kind of like what they have for VA people. And the VA will set them up, they'll pay the family members to take care of the veteran that's disabled. We're moving in that direction. Trump needs to move in that direction. Let us find a way to pay people and then tax them for taking care of our elderly. Let's find a way to do this. Next one, funding the trust funds going forward. Biden leaves knowing that 6 to 12 months earlier than expected because of the Social Security Fairness Act, but again, I support it, the trust funds will fail, pushing elderly and disabled into darkness, literal darkness, because they won't be able to afford their light bill. That's not what I would say from the Democratic hopeful was the end point that we wanted to end up with. And I think realistically, from this perspective, if we're just really direct with this, the Democrats have a lot of opportunity. They had it, they wasted it, but now coming into this new thing, they can attack the Republicans over and over with what they should be doing, but it weakens their ability to stand on their own 2 feet because they did a shit job during the past 4 years. The only one that was really exceptional, Commissioner Kijikazi, very good, very good. She got things rolling for Commissioner Martin O'Malley, who really put it in. He really did a good job. Now, as a result of that transition, the Democrats needed to support their commissioner, which is why I'm saying Democrats. And I know some House reps and senators, and I know a lot of SSA employees actually watch this channel. The number one thing to fix this problem is that the people, politicians, And SSA employees need to support the commissioner so that the commissioner has what that person needs to fix the problem. Let me tell you what I mean by that. At the end of the day, getting the politicians to behave and actually attempt a solution is very difficult. Politicians have turned into soundbite whores. That's what they are. And that's a polite term. It's a polite term for what they really are. They are worse than YouTubers and TikTokers trying to get views. At this point, like I watched Adam Schiff the other day, and I was disgusted. I was like, how is that? This is not a respectable human being. And then there's ones on the Republican side too. I saw more on the Republican, but Adam Schiff was the winner of the shit show. A leader sets the standard for their lieutenants, their captains, their majors, their colonels, their generals. A leader sets the standards. This is for both sides of the aisle. Now let's see how politicians are acting. Let's take a little glimpse on YouTube when presented with the opportunity to question the past commissioner of the SSA. So just to lay out the foundation, the theory of the problem here, we are about to view the Social Security Commissioner of the SSA that retired in November 30th to have his shot at the Democratic National Chair, which is Commissioner Martin O'Malley. So if you had, as a congressional leader, a senator, a House rep, somebody, the opportunity to sit down and ask questions as to what we need to fix the agency that is being crushed, would you act like this? Let's take a look. One second, we're getting it up.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama.
We're going to scroll a little. And right here, hold on.
Savings.
Well, under your watch, Mr. O'Malley, in 2023, it was $8 billion in improper payments from Social Security, and a lot of it had to do with the backlog due to delays, and people, and they're either underpaid or overpaid. Most of it was overpayments of, like I said, $8 billion, and there's $23 billion in Social Security in unrecovered overpayments. Did you make any effort to deal with that?
Yes, sir. I wasn't there in 20.
This is Martin O'Malley.
That number sounds right. It is a large program.
Well, while you were there, did you make any effort to
Yes, sir. Every 2 weeks, we met with all of the deputy commissioners. For 1 hour, we focused on the things we could do to bring down the overpayments and also to bring down the underpayments.
How about payments to dead people? Because when I first came to Congress in 2015, this was, I believe, I may have been the first member of Congress to actually get this into the budget to deal with improper payments. And
Right.
All right, this is good. What he's doing is good. He's going, okay, what about this? What about that? Help me understand this. What are you doing about this? How many meetings? What are you figuring out? This is good. This is good. Okay, let's keep rolling. Okay.
Around $3 to $5 billion a year to people who are dead. And
what are the chances that you
on.
think jiu-jitsu would be an American
Ah,
schools?
hold on.
Would that be good for
One second.
young
I'm
Americans?
having a moment here. Hold on. Again, this is because it's me on the YouTube. Here we go. Getting back to this.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama.
Over to here. Boom.
2 weeks, we met with all of the deputy commissioners. For 1 hour, we focused on the things we could do to bring down the overpayments and also to bring down the underpayments.
how about payments to dead people? Because
They had a lot of money paid out to dead people.
2015, this was, I believe,
Fraud.
I may have been
Fraud.
the first member of Congress to actually get this into the budget to deal with improper payments. And
Right.
I think we're sending out around $3 to $5 billion a year to people who are dead. And in one case, they were sending checks to someone who would have been 130 plus years old.
I believe they've gotten better at that. However, there are instances where, because of kind of the automated alerts that sometimes we see, there's occasions when payments are ceased when when the agency wrongly thinks that someone has died. So that happens also. It's a large agency.
It's a
It
huge
serves
issue.
a lot of people.
All right. Now, you notice right there, Commissioner Martin O'Malley didn't have a good answer. That was a problem for him. He should have been more prepared on that one. Bottom line was he got weak on that. I hope he takes a moment to get stronger on that particular point, because in the news, there's a lot of people getting paid that are deceased and they're getting a check. Well, who the hell's receiving the check on their behalf? That is a big problem.
Again, going back to the issue of remote work, I think there's some times when that's appropriate, but I don't think it's totally appropriate at the degree that you're doing it. Let me ask you this quickly. The Constitution says one Congress can't bind another Congress. Do you think it's proper that an agency or an administrator can bind a Congress or a president the way you have?
Well, sir, the term of that contract was actually, I do believe, expiring in
I'm not asking about the
2029.
contract. I'm asking about whether or not that's appropriate. Let me ask you this.
It's appropriate.
So now,
How much
right
interaction do
here,
you have with President?
you need to allow the actual professionals to answer the fucking question. Martin O'Malley is here because these people need to learn something from him. If you don't allow them to answer the question, you can't learn from them. Whether it's a proper answer or not that they give, that feeds you information. They're not even letting them answer anymore.
Biden, during your tenure, how much interaction did you have with President?
All right, now
Biden?
this is spicy. The question is, how many times, how much time did you interact with Biden related to the Social Security Administration as the commissioner of the SSA? So in other words, was Biden very hands-on, or is Biden just like, let my staff handle it, I'm not here at the moment? Let's take a look real quick, okay?
Talk to the White House all the time. Saw
I'm
the
talking about
president
him, though,
a
the
few
president.
times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find him?
Few times.
His mental acuity sufficient for the job?
I found him to be pretty
So you
sharp whenever I
participated
spoke
in the
to him.
cover-up and the lie.
Excuse me?
You participated in the cover-up and lie that the president had the mental acuity to carry out the functions of the office, which clearly he didn't.
Our
Mr. Chairman,
headquarters
I
was
yield
in our headquarters was in Baltimore. I was often in the field. I spoke to the White House all the time and had the support I needed to turn around an agency. His staffing has been reduced to a 50-year low.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair now
All right, so what did we learn from that? We learned that I only spoke to Biden a couple times.
Senator Kennedy.
What did we also learn? We also learned that the White House was talking to him all the time. Do we expect the president to have more than one or two conversations, maybe three conversations with the commissioner of the SSA? Yeah, we do. Do we expect Biden or future Democrats, realistically, to give a better effort when president of the United States to fix this program that is, essentially in collapse mode? Absolutely. We also learned that these congressional people, these House reps, these senators are total shitheads. Honestly, I'm disgusted by them. They need to let these people answer the questions. They need to give the senators more time and House reps more time so they don't have to play that game of, I need to reclaim my time. I need more time. We want answers. This is how we get those answers. Well, it's one of the ways. It's one of the most important ways. Here's another one.
And Mr. O'Malley, is it possible to reduce federal discretionary spending by $2 trillion over 10 years?
Without hurting people? I think it's
a yes or no question.
There's never a yes or no question to this. Only in court can you pull that. And this is a kangaroo version of court.
Previously, you said, no, you can't do it. That was a question, answer to a question over there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to clarify over 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and thanks for answering that question. So my next question for you is...
They just cut him off. They don't care what his answer is.
Can you
they
tell
don't
me
even care.
The 2024 limitation on administrative expenses amount is that you're operating under? What's not you now, but the SSA is operating under now because of the CR, et cetera.
Yeah, it was in the neighborhood of 14 billion.
14.226 billion. Sound right? Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. And that is up over fiscal year 2023, but flat because of the CRs for 2024. Is that right?
It's mostly been flat for 10 years.
Well, actually, that's not so. It's gone up in some years as high as...
Oh, that's true. There was 1 year before I got there where you all did allow them to hire some more people.
If you look through it, that number has gone up every year. In fact, if you look at the
But
Which
not
was
as much as their
2023.
expenses.
if
It was
you look at the
2023.
administrative
In other words-
expenses as a percentage of total cost, and please don't interrupt me.
Yes, sir.
If you look at that, you will see that even though percentage-wise it's gone down in the
below
last
1%.
in the last few years, and
Yes,
again, I just don't understand why you have to interrupt. You don't have to interrupt.
Again,
I'm
just
asking the
just
question
to,
to make-
I'm going to interrupt this politician because he's a piece of shit. The problem is, okay, that they are inviting people there to give answers that directly worked in the agency that's having the problems, and they don't give a shit. They're just making sound bites. That's all they're doing. They're trying to get views to get reelected. That should not be the goal of a politician, but it is. It is the only goal of the politicians to look appeasing to the people who support them. That's a goddamn problem.
a statement, then asking a question, and then I'll let you talk. Then, okay?
He won't.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
He
So in 2023, it was overall for old age and disability. That was about 1.8%, but nominally it went up. It went up by $500 billion, right?
Not five.
Excuse me, not billion, but
500
500 million. I'm sorry.
But their
500 million.
expenses went up by 600 million.
So from 2022,
Now, the Republicans have an opportunity there because the expenses of the SSA went up massively because of Biden's shit show policy on economics, right? Petrodollar was horrible. Reserve currency dealings were terrible. Biden was a shit show when it came to that whole, doing a good job with, let's just call it commercial industrial economics, right? Doing the classic thing that America does, making money by basically taking resources from other continents. Point being here is he's going to miss an opportunity here to attack the Democrats. And the Democrats, to be fair here, right, should really hit home that the commissioner of the SSA is not in control of the policy that the president puts in place when it comes to economic, futures. So as a result of that, we still have to fund the SSA. We still have to make sure it has enough money. If you have the cost of living go way, way up due to massive inflation, and then it costs them $600 million more to operate, we then have to fund it to be at the same level we're at right now, which is not a good level.
2023, that number went from 6.746 billion to 7.206 billion, right?
I don't have the historical data in front of me. You do.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
What I can tell you though,
So the next
Cuts
question
them off.
is this.
Just keeps cutting them off.
When we look at the percentage of hours spent by your employees remotely, that's below. Do you know what the number is?
no, I know that we only have 1% that work remotely.
But
I'm
if
no longer at the agency. I
if
don't
you
have
look at
the
all
exact-
if you look at all of those people who are working remotely, it's fewer than half are working their hours. Fewer than half of the hours are being worked in person.
No, we only have 1%.
That is according to the OMB. And I'll submit that for the record, Mr. Chairman.
We only have 1% of the
So-
workforce working remotely.
You want to distinguish
Now-
between hybrid and work.
Okay, he's making a point here, which is a good one. The Republicans are getting on him, and this is a good point. The Social Security Administration and all agencies, all politicians, they'll go ahead and retitle things with lots of different categories so that they can say, okay, well, this percentage is only this. And then we created a new category, and this subcategory or this side category is only this. So they can say, well, there's only 1% that works from home. But in reality, it's 100%. No. Technically, it'd be 99.99999999999% actually have hybrid allowance where they sometimes work from home. Only the commissioner is the one that has to show up for work every single day. So technically, it's not 1%. It's 99.9999999% of the people at the SSA have a hybrid where they sometimes work from home, but they don't work from home all the time. Let me get this rolling. Here we go.
And we're talking about the number of hours. Less than half. I'll submit that to the record. That's from OMB.
All of our employees.
And
work
so
5 days
once
a week.
again, you don't have a question in front of you. I don't know why you feel you got to do that, except for you're slick and you want to try to control things. But
Okay, so again, they're bringing these politicians in just to shit on their day. It would be better if the politicians that we hired, again, the people are the problem. The people hire these politicians. The politicians are they're just shooting for sound bites. That's all they're doing. It would be better, in my opinion, if we had politicians that took the opportunity to get the information out of this individual, realizing they're doing this, they're trying to attack Martin O'Malley because he's going to be the likely next presidential contender against whoever the Republicans put up in 2028, going into the transitional 2029, realizing that they are afraid of him. Like, trust me, this would not be going on if the Republicans were not afraid of this particular Democrat. That's what's happening here. They're worried that this Democrat is going to get speed and momentum because this Democrat is an old school Democrat. He's like your Clinton-y kind of Kennedy style Democrat, which is not the modern Democrat. The modern Democrat is, super far left, hyper trans rights, hyper, rights when it comes to minorities, things that a lot of the people are seeing back going like, do we have money for this? Can we afford this? Should we allow trans individuals into the bathrooms of women? That's a tough situation. But that's not where he's coming from. They fear him because he's running for the DNC chair and he's got momentum.
The bottom line is this. I want to talk about cases in my district. We had a constituent reach out to my casework team. I have an excellent casework team. They submitted an inquiry on September 25, 2023. You weren't there yet, I guess. A response to the request came in on October 4th, stating a tech would review the request and respond within the next week. But there was no response. My team requested a follow-up on November 13th, about 6 weeks after we were told we'd get a response within a week. Again, nothing. Again, on January 8th, nothing. February 26th, nothing. March 26th, 2024, all with no response. And one more time on April 15th, 2024, before finally receiving a response on April 22nd, 2024. This is typical. I know that the reason we get them is because they're having a problem, and we see all the problems. But that's typical, and so I know what your argument is. Your argument is that you're trying to do more with less. But I'm suggesting I would live in Maricopa County and Pinal County, Arizona. So I was trying to see on your little map where you're telling us how great things have gotten, and I was looking. And I don't have your before and after picture, but what I got is a picture that we're still way longer than we should be.
You can put that.
So now,
fail and burn.
I want you to deal with that.
They're struggling now.
I thought I was going to get to answer a question.
Answer some questions. Plus, you got to interrupt a few times. I'll yield back to Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, we're going to enter into the record.
What a goddamn shit show. I mean, think about the waste of money you all spend on those politicians to wear suits in that fancy building, sucking up AC, dreaming up some air in their head to deliver that shit show. You could have literally in that time span gone over the bullet points that Congress should pass and then talked about why it should be passed. And that would have been far more useful than telling the past commissioner of the SSA to go F himself. That's where politics are at right now. That's how sad this is. Next video, I've just uploaded into the chat section, will be right there. Attorney Walter Hnot. I want to show you, and the reason I do these videos is because I want to show you and get your brain thinking about, okay, not just Democrat, not just Republican, what are the options on the field? If you're going to kick the ball, how far is it going to go? Is it going to be successful when it rolls into the goal? I want you to start thinking outside of just what they feed you, because the little jar that they feed you from is not what you could have. It's just what they're willing to give you. All right. Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA, the most viewed and subscribed to Disability Attorney in America. With that said, I'm going to be heading over to the next video, but please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, and please remember to go over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Florida or Disability Resolution Law Firm. Throw some stars up there. I always appreciate it. I will catch you at the next video shortly. Also, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays, but I might be doing Thursdays and Fridays in the future. I'm experimenting right now to see how well it goes. And then if you have a big question or you need a full hour, to ask me a bunch of questions, me to figure out a timeline of what you should be doing, there's a mini contract below to hire me for a private session. I'll catch you at the next video shortly. Give me about 10 minutes. I have to go check on the doggies, and then I will be back. Thank you so much, Attorney Walter Hnot, and we will catch up very, very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.